Welcome back to another episode of the Body Buddies podcast. This is episode number 183, Intermittent Fasting and the Power Foods Lifestyle.
Welcome to Body Buddies, home of the Power Foods lifestyle. Take it one meal, one workout, one day at a time. And now, here's the founder of Body Buddies, Christy Joe.
I am so glad you're here. I am a mind and body strategist who helps you bridge the gap between the science of optimality in nutrition and fitness and the reality of your day-to-day life, your psychology, your emotions, your spirituality, and all of the things that encompass what make you who you are. If you want to lose weight, feel better, blast through brain fog, increase your energy, see some muscle definition, soothe digestive distress, work on creating a more healthy relationship with your body and food, and, kick that emotional eating to the curb, you are totally in the right place. You can find me on Facebook and YouTube as Body Buddies, or on Instagram as Bod Buds or Power Foods Lifestyle. Today's episode is brought to you by ButcherBox. When it comes to meat, quality matters, but finding high-quality, healthy meat can be hard. ButcherBox's goal is to find you the healthiest and highest quality beef, chicken, and pork every single month. They hold their suppliers to strict standards and taste test every cut before putting it in your ButcherBox. ButcherBox is delivered every single month to your door in a refrigerated carton. You can hand select the cuts, the types of meat you would like to receive each month. You can change it up every single month, and all for less than $6 per meal. I love being able to trust that I'm getting grass-fed beef, huge difference in the omegas, the inflammation in your body, which impacts your brain and your health, and longevity, prevention of disease, and helping you feel better and achieve more in your life every single day. I want to invite you to give ButcherBox 1 to 2 months test drive and see if you don't feel the difference between real quality sourced meat and your conventional meat that you're buying at the grocery store. You can click the link in the show notes of whatever podcast player you are listening to this. I do receive a small kickback for you using that code. That's how I'm able to offset the cost of all of this free production of material to get it to you. So I do thank you for using my affiliate codes and links whenever possible. The food system in this country needs huge improvement. Animal welfare issues continue to surface. People in rural areas have limited access to clean meat sources, and there is not enough information out there on how to eat well. Unless, of course, you listen to a podcast called Body Buddies. ButcherBox is dedicated to doing their part to connect families with the foods they want to eat by establishing an always open neighborhood butcher online. Now, if you are new here to Body Buddies, the best place for you to start is by getting your free cheat sheet to the PFL over at www.body-buddies.com. That's the home Body Buddies website, where if you're ever confused of where to find something, that should be where you go. So it's in the blue banner. You're just going to go click on that link, and that is where you are going to get the most important nuggets without reading my entire book. Of course, I would love for you to do that, but that's a great way to dive in and get started. Or even if you're a veteran and you need to kind of update yourself and get refreshed and refocused, that's a great thing for you to do as well. So go get that cheat sheet. You just enter your email in. It's a 100% totally free download. And so I'm very excited to get that over to you. Our review of the week comes from the iTunes podcast app. Banana Carrot says, I'm semi-new to the world of podcasts, but I have tried several, and hands down, I like Christy's the best. I love the lengths of the episodes, about 20 minutes or so. I love the topics, love the humor, love how authentic Christy is. She's very intelligent, knows her stuff, and explains it in a way I can understand. Some days, like today, I'll listen to 3 or 4 episodes because they are so good. She gives so many good ideas and has so much free information, unlike a lot of people out there who just want your money. She sincerely just wants to help people. I've only met Christy once, but I feel like I know her from all her videos and podcasts and other social media outlets. Thanks, Christy, for doing what you do. Well, thank you. I appreciate that very much. It does mean a lot when I feel like others see the value and the time I put into a lot of the free resources. It is tough. I do run a full-time business. I do have to support myself and the business through all that I do, and finding the balance between how much I give for free, how much I need to, charge, and things like that. Really, it's always an ongoing battle. And so I hope those of you who have never really been on the inside of a paid program, hope you do appreciate what the value you are getting for free, and definitely invite you to, when you feel it's right, come on the inside, because if you can see how much value I give for free, just imagine how much comes with the paid stuff. All right. The last thing I want to talk about before we go into this episode is reviews. I love reviews, and it's the only way really for this podcast to reach more people. It's just, unfortunately, that's how the internet works. Now, we have not had a lot of fresh reviews, and there are so many of you that are new here. Like, our numbers have probably quadrupled in the past 4 months, and yet we still are not getting the reviews. And so in order for me to get this information to you for free and continue, I just ask for your support and do thank you for that. I know what it's like to be well-intentioned, to be like, yeah, I'm going to do that. So I'm just going to ask you right now, will you please pause this podcast, go into whatever app you are listening to it on, and leave hopefully, I mean, be honest, but if you're listening to it, I would assume that you're enjoying the podcast and the information I give and my approach towards it. So it just does help so much. And of course, it's on a personal level very meaningful to know the impact that I'm having. Otherwise, imagine being me, like literally talking to nobody and having no idea the impact you are making, and if you're even making a difference. So, consider it maybe the thing you can do and as a thank you. So I do appreciate that. If you do leave a review, please screenshot it, send it to me either on Snapchat, K-Dizzle4Rizzle, double Z's, the number 4, or over on Instagram, BodBuds, and I will send you a free t-shirt. That's how I need your reviews. So get going on your t-shirt. You can get it for free. I mean, on the blog, they're $15. And so legitimately, I mean, this is a sweet deal. So yeah, just screenshot your review, send it over to me. I'll get your shipping address and we'll get you over the right size. We've got the 1 meal, 1 workout, 1 day at a time, turquoise tee currently, and Keep Calm and PFL on. So thank you in advance. All right, well, let's go ahead and dive right into today's topic of intermittent fasting. I have wanted to do this topic for, 2 years. And it's just been, you have to understand the evolution when you're trying to teach, hopefully you've been around long enough to know I don't just teach healthy eating. I teach strategic eating, and Power Foods Lifestyle encompasses all of the nutritional teachings out there and gives it a new name and gives it a home and gives it a place and context for us to understand it. Those of you who are going through the Power Foods Lifestyle Academy right now, you are definitely understanding this probably better than anyone. And it's exciting. Actually, our PFL students, they are in week 6 right now. So Power Foods Lifestyle Academy opens twice a year. I hope that you are on the waiting list. If you're not currently in the academy, it is a must do if you are serious about not becoming a statistic, which, let's just look at the world. I mean, it's not just all of the physiological things we're dealing with, like type 2 diabetes and heart attack, but the connection to the psychiatric disorders. And as you will, if you stay along with Body Buddies, we are venturing into deep stuff the next month to 2 months as I unleash my next program. So we will be talking microbiome, gut health, brain health. Over 40 million Americans have anxiety. Over 20 million American adults have depression. The ADHD label we give to almost 9% of children ages 8 through 15. And there is just so much going on. So I think you'll agree with me, like, we've got to learn a new system. And unfortunately, the old system of, just eat healthy, it's not good enough anymore. We've got to really start treating root causes of illness and disease, or preventing it, or we will become a statistic. That's how grim it is. And I don't want to be the person that's like, all morbid and everything, but unfortunately that really is the reality. So with that said, going back to this whole thing, why have I held off for so long? Well, because I don't want people to get confused, and because of the disparity in those people who I feel intermittent fasting is actually for. This, I have tried to plan out a good format to deliver this to you, and that's why it's taking so long. I've been meaning to do it for 4 weeks. I'm just meaning to say this was a very difficult topic for me to put together. And in the end, I scrapped all my notes and I said, let's just talk, because that's what I do best. Your job as the listener is to extract the information that's relevant to you with your body, your goals, your situation. And it's my job to give you different perspectives and mindsets and thoughts and help you navigate the particular pieces of nuanced information that will help you find the right strategy for you. If you are truly a body buddy, you know how to think critically and recognize that your neighbor, your mom, your sister, your best friend might not have the right strategy for you, that you have to come to that conclusion for yourself. it really hit a head when I keep getting all these direct messages and snaps and everything. Like, people are like, so what are your thoughts on intermittent fasting? And always Google first to see if Body Buddies has that information out on a topic. But if they had, then they would have landed on nothing. And so that's why we're putting out this podcast. So anyhow, yes, absolutely. Intermittent fasting is a part of the Power Foods lifestyle and can be a wonderful part of the Power Foods lifestyle. So we're going to talk through who it's for and who it's not for, first of all. Intermittent fasting is fantastic for those people who don't have an over attachment to food in terms of psychology, in terms of emotional eating, perhaps, some bulimic tendencies, anorexic tendencies, binge eating, emotional eating. If you have any of those former conditions in your life, I would venture to say this might not be the best approach for you. However, I could be wrong. You always want to put it to the test. And whenever we test a new approach, we want to give it at least 21 days and do it fully with absolute integrity, accountability to yourself or with me on a coaching level. If you want to look at my coaching programs, or as a member of Body Buddies World, which is definitely more, lower budget way of connecting with me. And so that would be somebody that's not for. There's a lot of experts and, physicians that are saying pregnant women, please do not start doing intermittent fasting. Others are saying breastfeeding, not a good idea. Well, it's kind of like the same philosophy as, well, should pregnant women be working out hard and lifting weights? And it all depends. What were you doing previous to getting pregnant? What were you doing previous to breastfeeding? I mean, it really is like, what is the level of conditioning and expectation of your body? There is no absolute for anything. And so you have to be very careful what you read into. Now, please, of course, I have a disclaimer at the end of the podcast. Hopefully you've listened to it over and over and over. Like, don't take my, recommendations as medical advice. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a registered dietitian. So you got to clear everything through that. You assume that personal risk and responsibility through any incorporation of my recommendations or suggestions. So now that we got that out the way, let's talk about, I have had successful people do intermittent fasting while pregnant. I have had successful people do intermittent fasting while they're breastfeeding. It really depends on what you are doing and the consistency and the adherence level. Adherence is number one. Sustainability is number one when it comes to anything in our nutrition and in our fitness. And so ask yourself, is this something truly that I need for my lifestyle? Now, are there, the physiological benefits of intermittent fasting? We'll get into that in just a moment. Because yes, there certainly are. However, you can also achieve just as many benefits through not fasting. And so unfortunately, whenever we read a blog or a podcast and, somebody's very pro XYZ approach, for instance, in this case, intermittent fasting, of course, they're going to unleash all the statistics and clinical studies that show of its efficacy. And so we have to be very careful because we could do that with any approach. And if you really extract all the data and cherry pick and be like, okay, what variables were tested, what weren't tested, I can see the flaws and the holes in every study, which goes to show, once again, there are no absolutes. So be very careful that as you are listening and interpreting nutritional information, fitness information, anything that regards your health, that you don't buy into absolutes. Have I beat on that drum enough, or do you need me to beat on it one more time? Okay, let's try this. Okay, so I want to go through some of the pros and cons, and then really want to get back into, if you're going to do it and you want to give this a try, the way that I recommend trying. Okay, so the whole debate is that scientists have found, it goes back to even the 1930s, scientists have found that really reducing calories helped mice live longer, healthier lives. That's a very important fact you need to understand. Most of the studies around intermittent fasting have been done on mice, or monkeys, or roundworms. Very few studies have been effectively tested on humans because A, the information hasn't been around long enough. B, let's think about the adherence level of, let's say someone came to you and was like, hey, do you want to be a part of this clinical study? You have to eat exactly this way. You have to do exactly this program. You can't change anything, any variables in your life. And if stress happens and if this happens, you can't change anything. How truly to the T can we take any study and be like, oh my gosh, the efficacy of that is 100%. You can't. When you're testing on humans, there's gonna be errors. And so researchers and scientists are doing their best to eliminate as many of those variables that are going to be inconsistent with the things that we need to test. So anyhow, I'm just asking you to take every claim with a grain of salt. Yes, they have found that limiting food intake can reduce the risk of many common diseases. Some believe fasting may also increase the body's responsiveness to insulin, which regulates blood sugar and helps control hunger. Now, I have done some podcasts previously on fasting, so I'll invite you to listen to those after this one if you find that this is a topic very interesting to you. So there's several different approaches to intermittent fasting. We'll get into that in a minute, but let's look at a few other criteria that might lend itself in the favor of intermittent fasting, why so many are crying that this is the end all beat all of wonderful nutritional approaches. I think it's also great for those people who are truly so busy, they don't have time to stop and eat. And so again, coming back to what's our number one and most important question to ask ourselves, how compliant and consistent are we being to our committed lifestyle? If you are somebody who just finds it nearly impossible to get all 5 or 6 of your baseline Power Foods lifestyle meals in, perhaps it's time to experiment a little bit with the intermittent fasting. Now, it would be a better strategy to do intermittent fasting style rather than bigger breakfast, lunch, and dinner and cut out your mid-afternoon and mid-morning snacks. Biggest thing is you're going to have far more rises and falls in your blood sugar, which will impact your moods and your energy. You won't be able to tap into fat burn as much as if you were to. The most traditional way to approach intermittent fasting is, you begin your fast overnight and then you have your first meal of the day around 11, 12, 1, and then you have like an 8-hour eating window. That's a very typical approach. It's called the 16-8. So 16 hours of fast, 8 hours of feeding window. And the typical Body Buddies approach is that we would do 2, maybe 3 meals within that time frame. I've been doing intermittent fasting for the past 3 weeks, and I personally love the 3 meals a day. So it's, one for me, I do my first meal at 11, my next meal 4 hours later at 3, and my final meal at 7 p.m. And then you're done eating. And it's when you're in a mindset that doesn't impact you or make you feel restricted or fearful, or it doesn't impact your social settings and things like that, it can be actually really wonderful. And that's been great for me as I have been. I mean, if you've been a long-term podcast listener, I'm always busy, but I feel like I'm at a zenith of commitments. We'll put it that way. Biggest thing is dance competition season's coming up, and my weekends are going to be not mine for the next 4 months. Judging dance competitions every Friday and Saturday, which I love, absolutely love. That's where my heart is. Teaching dance, several times a week. Many of you know I got back in the dance studio last year, and it's been the greatest source of happiness for me. I mean, I love what I do here at Body Buddies, but I mean, if you really know me, my heart, the Christy inside, the Christy Joe, she's a dancer. All right. So yes, it makes me happy to be working with so many youth and beautiful young dancers. Okay. So back to the science. So a lot of this evidence that promotes the benefits of intermittent fasting include that insulin levels, you're going to have insulin drop significantly, which facilitates fat burning. So whenever you eat a meal, you are raising insulin. Now in the Power Foods lifestyle, if you're eating 5 to 6 meals more, frequently and regularly, we're really minimizing and we are controlling just how much that insulin goes up. But the fact is, every time you eat, yes, your insulin will go up. And so if you are not being regular and consistent with your every 2.5 to 3 hour meals in the right portion sizes I suggest, then perhaps this would be for you, because you need to start mastering that insulin. Otherwise, we're going to be in all sorts of trouble, whether it being more inflammation, fat gain, brain fog, etc. Now, another benefit of intermittent fasting is human growth hormone. This is actually a very big deal. The blood levels of growth hormone may increase due to intermittent fasting as much as 5-fold. That was found in 2 studies. Higher levels of this hormone facilitate fat burning and muscle gain and have numerous other benefits. So yeah, there are a lot of people in the bodybuilding world. There's a lot of people in professions like doctors or dentists or nurses or even pilots, people who don't have the time to be like, yeah, I'm going to eat a meal every 2.5 to 3 hours. If you're someone that works at a corporate job, you're sitting at a desk, you have a traditional 9 to 5, you've got a break room in the back, like the whole 5 to 6 meals a day thing could work beautifully for you. If you're a stay-at-home mom, it could work beautifully for you. And we'll talk again about the psychology of why I do recommend eating meals more frequently. I won't go into the full thing because I have multiple pages in the book about that. I invite you to read that. Definitely go get that at powerfoodslifestyle.com if you have not yet. That's a definite prerequisite to understanding nutrition. If you haven't read the book yet, oof, you're missing out. You're missing a big chunk of info. So yeah, the human growth hormone, this really impacts overall. Just think about your body is constantly breaking down, right? All of your millions of cells are turning over and you are losing them. And so human growth hormone allows your body to continue rebuilding and growing stronger rather than, how a lot of people just feel like, oh, well, once you achieve main mass growth around age 25, like it's just downhill from here. And I hate hearing people say that because I'm still on the upward climb. I'm 30 years old and I'm like, yeah, don't tell me that. I am creating my best body till I'm probably like 70. So don't even. It's a mindset. And when you take psychology and you really dive into the complexities of how the human mind works and subconscious mind and memory links and John Locke formulas, which I do all that with my private coaching clients, we get deep into psychology. It's beautiful. You recognize how this is a strong word, but you guys know me, I'm blunt. It's pathetic. It's pathetic to allow your thoughts of what is real and what you just have to accept, especially if it comes from a cultural belief, which is probably pretty low and petty. Don't do that. You're better than that. I need you to see way beyond that. Life has so much more to offer than the traditional mindsets. And the day that you wake up and realize that is the day you start becoming the master of yourself. That's what this entire mission of understanding our body and working to align the intelligences of the body and the mind and the spirit and fueling it and helping it become its best and allowing the spirit inside the body to become its very best. Like we can't miss the mark of what this is all about. So I invite you to constantly keep that in the forefront of your awareness as you are looking for what strategies work well for you. If you are looking for additional energy, focus, and weight loss while you're living the Power Foods lifestyle, I'd like to share with you a resource that may be of benefit. It's called Ketogenics, and it's a company that produces exogenous ketones in the form of delicious powder you can add to any beverage. Ketones are the secondary fuel source for your brain. These powders are sweetened with stevia and currently come in 2 different flavors. While exogenous ketones are primarily marketed in conjunction with ketosis, the form of eating and fat loss, and I do have 6 episodes previously already on ketosis, it's a whole different beast. My purpose in using exogenous ketones is for the therapeutic effects for my brain each day. I have clearer focus and higher processing power in my thinking. I use Ketogenics twice a day in conjunction with my regular Body Buddies Power Foods lifestyle and my core vitamins. Although I was skeptical at first, deeper research led me to put it to the test, and I can honestly tell you now I will not go a day without my ketones. You can save on your order anytime at ketogenics.com by using my code BODBUDS, BODBUDS. They have other options as well, so definitely just go check out what they offer, KEGENIX.com. And again, my code is BODBUDS, BODBUDS. Another benefit of intermittent fasting, cellular repair. The body induces important cellular repair processes such as removing waste material from cells. There is something that I truly do feel as I have been on an intermittent fasting cycle. Now I cycle it. I'm not doing it forever. I don't know that it's something I would like to do forever. It's something you could do several times per week. You could do once a month. You could do, if you really felt like it worked for you, maybe you're someone who's working 4 days a week on a night shift or something, a 12-hour shift. And so you're like, those 4 days a week, yeah, that's going to be during my fasting time. Now the key to beginning a fast appropriately, you cannot put a ton of carbs in your body. Otherwise, your insulin is going to come down pretty dramatically in that blood sugar. So the best thing to do to begin and end a fast is get the appropriate amounts of PVF meals, protein, veggie, fats. Now, if we are really reducing the window of time that you will be eating, obviously those portion sizes need to increase. Here's the best thing I love to show people when I'm working with them one-on-one. We're on Facebook Messenger, we're on Skype, And so for their body, for most women I'm consulting, it's going to be somewhere between 1,400 to 1,700 calories is going to be their caloric deficit in order to stimulate fat loss. So it really just depends. But let's just take, the basic 6 meals a day, PVC or PVF, inappropriate peak ranges as recommended in the book, will land you around 1,500 calories. And so, assuming 6 Ps, 6 Vs, 6 either Fs or Cs will land you 1,500 calories, then if you need to package that into 3 meals, how simple is it to just double them up? You need 3 meals of double P, double V, and double F if you're going to have 3 meals. Does that make sense? And 1,500 calories. Okay, what if you need to reduce to 1,400 calories? Well, then you need to strip either one of the Ps or one of the Fs or Cs. Now, here's the thing. You do not need to have any Cs. The number of Cs is relative to your body and your goals. And if you really want to understand that, that would be the time to get in Body Buddies World or work with me one-on-one. That's really, if you want to understand the exact right strategy for your body and have no more fumbling around and frustration trying to find it, then yeah, accelerate, get through that and let's go. Let's get you to the right approach. So anyhow, someone could have 4 Fs and 2 Cs. Somebody could have 3 Fs and 3 Cs. Somebody could have 6 Fs with a floating carb, which means calories will go up on floating carb day, but for psychological reasons and sustainability, that floating carb, which could be a complex carb like oats, lentils, rice, sweet potato, or usually I recommend it be a half cup of fruit like blueberries, apples, grapefruit, but that floating carb does wonders for keeping people on track. Instead of, oh my gosh, I just can't do it anymore. Whether you have an autoimmune condition, whether you are somebody who is experiencing PCOS, you are dealing with neurodegenerative disease, you've got any form of inflammation in your body, perhaps in your brain, concussions, any of those conditions, I'd say most conditions, I'll probably put you on a lower carb strategy due to the inflammatory impact of carbs. Therefore, I should see a minimum of 4 Fs in your day. And 3 of those darn well better be our top 3 power fats: avocado, olives, and a healthy oil like coconut oil, avocado oil, olive oil, did I say that? Grass-fed butter, even though it's saturated. Yep, that would count as one of our healthy oils. 4th F could be nuts, seeds, raw of course. My top 3 nuts I'd recommend to you. Brazil nuts, especially if you have hypothyroidism, you need to be having 3 per day for the selenium. Raw almonds or raw walnuts. I know many of you are doing cashews, and I'd highly recommend you treat that as more of an indulgence nut and not a regular everyday nut. They're just not as potently powerful in omegas as the 3 I just named. You could stack those, do 3 meals of double P, double V, double F, which means a portion size of 4 ounces of chicken goes to 8 ounces. Instead of 1 scoop of protein, you're doing 2. Instead of 2 cups of spinach and like a small Roma tomato, you're doing that plus a half cup of broccoli and throwing on some slices of bell pepper. I really need to make sure you don't cut out the number of veggies you're eating. That's my biggest concern with anybody doing intermittent fasting, is because it's very easy to cut out the micronutrients, because yeah, you are eating less, but then what happens to all 6 of those beautiful servings of vegetables with those cofactors that bind with amino acids to make proper neurotransmitters in your brain? The dopamine, the acetylcholine, the GABA. You need those, especially if you are dealing with a mental health condition. You cannot just suddenly expect yourself to be okay if you are not providing that absolutely important fuel to your brain. And so, yeah, I just need you to make sure that you're not missing out on any of those 6 servings of vegetables per day. Please make sure you're hitting all 4 categories at the minimum: water-based, cruciferous, and leafy greens, and miscellaneous. Okay. I'm trying to think. Yeah, all of these things, if you're like, I want more information, I want more details, well, come join Body Buddies World. That is the best place to get all of these answers you need at a very, very affordable cost and direct access to me, which is super cool. Of course, it's in the Facebook group. It's not like, private. Like, I do offer the best deal ever, which is you get a 45 session with me once a month. With that deal, it's cheaper than any of my other coaching programs, so you can go start a free 7-day trial over at bodybuddiesworld.com. Okay, let's talk about some other benefits of intermittent fasting. And all right, let's see what this article says. I love to use articles because then I'm like going to either talk about the flaws in it or talk about the benefits. Okay, so a lot of people do intermittent fasting to try to lose weight. And they're like, well, yeah, if I'm eating less, it'll just help me stick with it. And I can agree with that to a point. Again, come back to, can you sustain it? So generally speaking, yes, it's going to help you eat fewer meals. I would highly recommend, if you are in my camp of Power Foods lifestyle and you are doing intermittent fasting, you don't remove your P's and B's and C's and F's of tracking. That is our best way to keep ourselves on track, because a lot of people unknowingly, they revert to this whole like intuitive eating thing, which I'm really against. I hope you guys know that I am against intuitive eating until you have been properly trained. The fact is, your body did not come pre-manufactured on proper settings. We have to train your body how to function optimally, get the metabolic flexibility up, get all of the genomes functioning properly, build up your microbiome, which is probably not functioning properly. If you have a mental health condition, if you have any form of degenerative disease, if you have any reproductive issue, I could go on and on and on, and we will have more podcasts on all of these in very important topics. Your microbiome has been compromised. Your blood-brain barrier has been compromised. And we have to work extremely hard to get that fixed before you can go into this whole camp of, well, eat what your body's telling you to. Okay, I'm done. No more rant on that. I just don't believe in it. I don't. How can you be intuitive if you haven't trained the body how to think? You don't know how to interpret your body. You don't. You are a spirit who is in this body trying to learn. And I'm not saying you can't receive like spiritual revelation and guidance for your body, but until you have a base knowledge, I truly don't believe God is going to just give us this most random, like, oh, go eat this mud from this river. I believe he draws upon the information that we have studied up and learned to better help us understand and articulate it and to interpret it in perhaps a new way. But it's very rare that he's going to just give you some random piece of information. And I'm sure people are going to like write me emails and be like, well, here's my story. Okay. I'm just saying, I've coached thousands of people and I've never seen it happen in a way that it had better health, better self-confidence, and better body composition. Never seen it. Okay, let the stories flood in telling me I'm wrong. I would love to hear them. By the way, you can always reach me at Kristyjo, Kristyjo, at body-buddies.com. Okay, so then there's this whole issue about, well, gosh, if we skip meals, aren't we slowing down our metabolism? Well, short-term fasting actually increases your metabolic rate by 3.6 to 14%, helping you burn even more calories. Okay, that is a study we're going to pull up and we're going to talk through that, because this is very, very important. We have to look at the variables of what was tested in order to understand that outcome. Here's where it gets dicey. Unless you click on the link to go read the study, you're left to assume that, oh, your metabolic rate increases. Well, here's the actual study, my friends. The effects of 48-hour starvation on the physiological responses to a 30-minute infusion of epinephrine at all the science of how much they injected, and they tested only 11 normal weight, healthy, young subjects. They're not even going to tell us how old these young subjects were, how active they were, what their culture is, their ethnicity, their parents' genetics, what their predispositions are. And this is to their response to the injection of epinephrine after 48 hours. So can you see how any study, there's gonna be variables that it's like, oh my gosh, well, they didn't test this type of thing or this. And then what we do is we interpret all of these claims and results, and then we think, oh my gosh, so I'm confused because Kristy said that we shouldn't skip breakfast in her book and blah, blah, blah. Can you see where I'm going with this? This is a very complex world. We've said that a million times. It is. And in fact, I was in a meeting with a few other nutritional people on Saturday, and each of us kind of got to a point, we kind of shook our heads and said, isn't this the most phenomenal industry? Because no one's right and no one's wrong unless they are putting the wrong approach on the person. It's not that any approach is wrong, it's that it's wrong for the person. Does that make sense? It's got to be tailor fit for you and your needs, which is why I'm a strategist, which is why I'm good at what I do. Because in order for us to put the right strategy on you, we have to help you figure out you. And that requires some digging. That requires some psychological and emotional work. And that's what I love to do. I hope I get the chance to work with you one-on-one. Okay, so let's go back to this Will it increase your metabolic rate? I think it's safe to say we don't know. Why don't you test it? Why don't you see how you feel? Again, let's assume that you can be compliant for 14 to 21 days and you're like, genuinely, like, I wake up in the morning, I have a great bowel movement. Maybe you choose to exercise during that time. Here's the interesting thing. I don't know that I'd recommend this for most people, but I wake up and I go train, and I train hard. And I do drink ketones for my workout. You can get the ketones I use over at Kegenix, KEGENIX.com. And you can use my code BODBUDS, BODBUDS, to save 10% on your order. I get the lemon lime kind. So I drink those before my workout. And if I'm shaky, I will have 2 Brazil nuts around my workout, whether it's before, during, or after. Otherwise, I'm not eating. And you'd be amazed. Like, so I drive home and I'm like, I feel amazing. And I go home and I'm skipping breakfast and I just get, cleaned up, and I'm hitting work, and I just like, boom, crank out the morning emails with clients and, social media posts and YouTubes and blogs and phone calls and coaching calls and all of this. And by the time, like, I have a bowel movement, like, and here's the thing, every person that ever talks to me is like, TMI. I'm like, no, I need to do an entire podcast on bowel movements. In the academy, you guys know, like, we talk about everything from flatulence to migraines to constipation. I mean, there is no TMI. We talk yeast infections. You guys, you got to do the academy. So anyhow, yeah, I have like really solid, good bowel movement. I'm like, woo, like things are going great. I'll do the detox drink, which if you don't know what the detox drink, that is over at powerfoodsdetox.com/drink. By the way, if you don't want to remember all these URLs I'm throwing out here, I will put them all in the show notes. Just tap on your screen and they should be there. Or if you're listening on the URL browser, just go to the blog there and they will be there as well. I'll try to make it easy for you. So, yeah, I do the detox drink, and that apple cider vinegar, I can just feel it like truly alkalizing my blood. I feel so cognitively aware, and I don't feel a drop in metabolism. Now, here's the thing. I haven't tested it on not training in the morning because I train in the morning. I love training in the morning. It basically gets my body ready for the day, and I don't function with my scoliosis unless I get my body taken care of first thing. I've learned through hard experience, that's just what I have to do. And sometimes that means shifting my entire schedule, but it's either, for me, the difference of walking or not walking. So you can imagine I do make it a priority. Training has really shifted for me over the years, and motivation to do it. Motivation for me is walking. Anyhow, it just feels really good. And then, come 11, 12, I'm like, all right, we're ready for breakfast. I go cook a big stir fry. I'm doing like 4 ounces of grass-fed beef, a tablespoon of coconut oil. I do cauliflower rice, broccoli florets. I chop up Brussels sprouts. I've had an obsession with them since Christmas. I legitimately cannot go a day without my Brussels sprouts. I chop them up like super small in slices, and then I put the lid on this skillet and let the coconut oil or the grass-fed butter. Those are my top 2 go-tos for these skillets. And just let that kind of saturate in there on a medium heat. I've put that on Instagram several times, or on Snapchat. So many of you guys may have seen me do that over and over and over. It's because I'm obsessed with this, and I eat every day. I've eaten every day probably for 6 months, and I just have no desire to change it up. Like, when something works for you, keep doing it. Like, just knock it over the head. It takes the guesswork out. And that's my hope. Too many people, like, biggest mistake they make is they try to have too much variety. And unfortunately, and I get that it's a personality thing for some people, and they've branded themselves as foodies. I'll psychologize that on you later. But careful what labels you assume in life, because you will certainly act like the labels you identify with yourself. So if you don't like a behavior behind something, look at the label you've become to believe. And here's the fun thing. You can change the label. You can change the identity, and then your behavior shifts. Da-da-dung, 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 da-da-dung. You think that sounds easy to say. No, it is easy. It is easy when you work on these things together and we really strategize through them. So let's think. Then I'll throw on some guac or something like that. But usually it comes out to be either a double P, double V, double F, or a triple P, triple V, triple F. And then sometimes if my intermittent fasting window goes down to 2 meals a day, which sometimes I just want a bigger skillet. And that will last me through till like 4 o'clock. And then I'll drink a protein shake before I teach dance. And then I will have my, final meal, my big dinner. I usually am like cooking something or taking a bunch of fast grab items, which those of you in Body Buddies world, you know a lot of those fast grab items. We talk about those a lot to give you those Amazon links, or people in my other programs like Power Foods Detox, the 8-week challenge, what other programs are out there right now? The Academy, of course. Yeah, and soon to be the Beautiful Brain Challenge. So be on the lookout for that coming in March. Yeah, so that's kind of how I approach it. I have many clients who are also doing this as well and loving it. The biggest thing is, if you're not going to stick to your appropriate meal times, you've got to commit to tracking in MyFitnessPal. I do have a YouTube video that shows you how to do this, where all the cool little pieces of, push this button. If you've never done this before, go find that video, go to the Body Buddies YouTube channel and just use the search bar to type in macros. Or if you're searching on your mobile device, you have to go Body Buddies macros, and that should pull the video up. Okay, I'm trying to think. I'm not going to go into all of the things that are in my book about, why is it also beneficial to do 5 to 6 meals a day? And that's because I've already talked about it in the book. So go reread. Let me look here. What chapter is it? It is... Again, you can get the book and the audiobook version, which so many people tell me they love that because it's like a personal experience, like hearing me read it to you. And of course, we're all very busy people. So you got to drive, you got to run errands, you got to cook, you got to clean, you got to work in the office or whatever it be, listen to boring conference calls, pretend like you're listening to, but you're really not. All right, it is in the meal timing section. So starting on page 105, I'll just give you, how about this? I'll give you the teeniest little briefing. Okay, 105 is the first page. All right, let's go. Page 107, benefits of eating smaller, frequent meals. It can feel odd to think of eating so often when you're used to eating larger meals only 1 to 3 times per day. I'm often told by new clients that it seems like so much food. That is, until the 1 to 2 week adjustment period is over, then they begin to experience what I'm telling them about. Many people have never listened to their bodies to know when it is actually signaling hunger. Achieving this is a great triumph, as the typical American's metabolism is so sluggish and behavior is so unregulated that true hunger is a feeling very foreign. Okay, let me just insert this now. Based on that, that's another huge reason that I don't know that somebody completely new to Power Foods Lifestyle should start out in intermittent fasting. I would like somebody who is coming from a totally different background of eating to give themselves 2 to 3 weeks and 5 to 6 meals per day, because there is a much value in revving that metabolism and getting things going to increase the metabolic flexibility, the insulin sensitivity, before we start packaging meals in smaller, eating windows. I think there's great value in that. And so consider giving yourself that 2 to 3 weeks of focused, smaller windows of intervals, which, using alarms on your phone helps. And food prep is kind of essential, unless you're going to, figure out how to do all the fast grabs, which I really help people do when we're on coaching calls. You can do intro coaching calls with me. Just go to the home Body Buddies website and click on the pink button. Let's go back to this. The statement that smaller, more frequent meals works or doesn't work for fat loss has been a controversy in the nutrition world for years. As I research and observe trends of the many people who pass through the Body Buddies coaching program, I ascertained that the benefit of smaller, more frequent meals for sedentary populations is mostly psychological, while for more active and athlete populations, athletic populations, mostly physiological. With that said, eating at the PFL recommended frequency has multiple benefits that can enhance your body's health and amplify the fat loss process, no matter which level of fitness you currently enjoy. Let's go through them one by one. So like point number 1, I say many studies show that people who eat smaller, more frequent meals tend to eat fewer calories in a day than people who eat 3 larger meals. Another point is increased meal frequency appears to have a positive effect on various blood markers of health, particularly LDL cholesterol, total cholesterol, and insulin. I've observed this change in many of my clients' results from health checks, and always look forward to texts and emails from former clients who continue with the lifestyle. Number 3, eating small, frequent meals leads to increased fat loss as your blood sugar levels are more stable than when going long periods of time without food. Now, again, it would come back to, how are you approaching it? If you are being sporadic, if you are being intemperate, if you are being unregulated in how you're approaching it, and you're treating it as a starvation versus, I can eat now, and you're not regulating this and tracking this and planning this, I'm going to say intermittent fasting is not right for you. And you won't achieve the success. If you are proactive, regulated, focused, you have a plan, you're hitting your same daily target macros and calories as if you would if those were distributed between the full day of 5 to 6 meals, then it could be great if that's easier for you. I hope this makes sense, that it really comes down to such simple things as consistency and regulation. Skipping breakfast, most people skip breakfast, and there's so much we could go into in terms of how psychology impacts all this. If most people skip breakfast and they don't have the planned break the fast for whatever time they are breaking that fast. Get that? Did you ever know that? I hope you knew that. Breakfast comes from break the fast. So if they're not planning that, then yeah, chances are they're like, okay, I'm ready to eat, because hello, we still have psychological triggers and social cues of, oh, it's eat time, it's food time, and smells and sights and things like that, especially if you're more in a corporate space or, you're around things, you're in the city, whatever it be, and you're exposed to this, yeah, you're gonna want to eat. And so, just consider that planning it is key. If you don't plan it, that's when people are very prone to be like, oh, we'll just order Jimmy John's, or, oh, somebody brought in lunch and, oh, we'll just eat this. And all of a sudden they're like throwing too many carbs in the body, not enough protein, not enough healthy fats, probably wrong types of fats, are saturated fats too high. We're getting lots of sauces, high sugars, some trans fats, hydrogenated fats in there. And all of a sudden you're like, why isn't this intermittent fasting thing working for me? Well, duh. Sometimes it hurts when we hear the truth, but it's probably the best thing that happens to us. There's entire blogs and podcasts and all this that are just focused on intermittent fasting. And so if you're like super into it and you don't find any value here at Body Buddies Power Foods Lifestyle, go search out one of those. But I think the biggest thing is I would encourage you to track things. Make sure that you're being consistent for at least 21 days. Decide what the appropriate amount of time frequency is. Are you going to do it 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, 1 day a week, every other week, things like that. Like really plan it out, map it out. Have a system to recognize that you've got to know how many macros and calories are going in your body. If you're not regulating that and you're like, why am I gaining weight? Well, because you're not tracking your food. And I cannot do a darn thing for you until you track your food and I know what's going in your body. Okay? Like you have to, at least for 1 day, put your food in MyFitnessPal and be like, oh, that's what my total daily protein is, my total daily carbs, total daily fats, and total daily calories. Now I get it fluctuates from day to day. I get that better than anyone. But if I don't see what 1 day's like for you, then I have nothing to go off other than your inarticulate ability to truly tell me exactly what you're eating and exactly what portion size is at exactly what time. Okay? Don't overthink this. If you're traveling, make it maybe a fast day and avoid the unhealthy airport food. You can plan to fast at different times. Like you can toggle that back and forth. Maybe you want to start your fasting at like 4 p.m. and you want to eat breakfast instead. So you can definitely do that and adjust all this. You can combine this with other strategies. Maybe you do this like twice a week and then the other days you're eating 5 to 6 meals per day. You definitely feel free to drink. Like it's not about avoiding water. You can drink water. You can drink BCAAs. I am really on a no food dye, no artificial sweeteners kick. So if at all possible, try to only find things that are naturally flavored or colored or only use stevia. So please look at your labels. And as I come out with more podcasts and start the marketing for the Beautiful Brain program, you will start to understand the science behind that and why I am going to probably get a little crazy on those things. So just be prepared. Be prepared to either pretend like it's not a problem and you're going to look the other way, or you're going to pull your head out and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, like I realize why our whole country is becoming debilitated faster than you can blink. If only it were as simple as, oh, it's fine, just eat healthy. No. Okay, give your body time to adjust. You might not really be hungry. You might have just trained your body to expect that food. And so that can take some time to train your mind around like, I'm okay. I don't need food right now. My eating window has not come yet. And so drink some BCAAs or some ketones or, do your detox drink at Body Buddies and you'll be good. So hopefully this has given you at least a basic rundown. All right, my Body Buddies, do your best. You just remember, all of this is about you living your best life. I want you to be happy. I want you to be healthy. I want you to be confident with who you are and your body image and your body, the feeling, the energy, bowel movements. Like, I don't want you to be in the bathroom like nonstop because you got IBS symptoms or Crohn's disease. Like, I want you to find a way to figure out why these symptoms are happening and let's get you out of them and let's get you living the best life possible for you. That's what it's about. Okay? It's experience. It's not about who's right or wrong. Okay, if there's an approach that just works well for you, then beautiful. That makes me so happy. But if any of my programs or courses, or of course working with me, can be of value to you getting to that point of high quality of life, I would love to be your guide as you take that journey to your best self. Power your body, one meal, one workout, one day at a time.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes. You can learn more about Body Buddies and Power Foods Lifestyle by going to www.body-buddies.com, BODY-BUDDIES.com, and powerfoodslifestyle.com. That's www.POWERFOODS-lifestyle.com.
Information in this episode is provided for informational purposes and is not meant to substitute the advice provided by your own physician or other medical professional. Information and statements regarding dietary supplements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.